Hi adventurers! Today we're going to discuss the TPCAST Wireless Adapter for the HTC VIve, and the topics we are going to discuss are what's in the box, installation, our play setup, what the wireless VR experience is like, the issues, price, and last but not least, should you buy it and are we going to buy it?
First of all, thank you TPCAST for letting us borrow the review copy so that we could try it out and also review it.
So let's start with what's in the box. Here we have a promotional package of TPCAST, which consists of the European version. In the box you can find the following: HMD receiver, PC transmitter, power box, power bank, dedicated cable for long distance connection, HDMI cable for short distance connection, nylon mesh bag, router, power supply, a network cable, belt strap. Our promotional package misses this belt, but the consumer package has a belt. So, first of all, how does the material feel? It doesn't feel very high quality, it feels like plastic to be honest. It is lightweight though, but it does make me wonder what the long-term durability will be like. For the installation, we have followed the TPCAST installation user guide and the tutorial video. If you are interested, you can check it out in the description below.
So we are quickly going through the installation process because there is a tutorial video that is good and we have linked it down below. Now what you have to do is put the cables through the HMD receiver. You put the short cable here and then you put the strap through the HMD receiver. It might be a little clumsy, but it does fit. Now put the cables through the hole of the compartment cover. Now make sure you put the strap on the compartment cover. And then put the cables through the hole. And then connect the cables on the HTC headset. Lastly, close the compartment cover. And that's done. Now get the router out. And if your PC is connected to the network via the Ethernet port, disconnect this cable and put this cable into the router's WAN port. Then connect the LAN port of the router to the PC through the supplied network cable. And now you can use the original 3-in-1 HTC VIve cable to connect it to the transmitter. And this cable can stay connected to the link box. Now place the transmitter somewhere high, like here. And now just mount yourself using the belt that is provided, or here we're using a Twitch belt because we don't have another belt.
Once you have everything set up, the last thing you do to start up everything is put in the battery. Then launch the wireless connection assistance and wait for it to complete. A very high-pitched sound will come up now, but that is also an indication that it works. Now, you can put the battery pack inside a pouch and put it on your belt or something else. Start up SteamVR and you are ready to play. Sometimes it doesn't recognize your TPCAST straight away, but we found this problem can be solved just by restarting the PC. If that doesn't work, try unplugging the power of the router and HMD receiver and then replug it to restart both.
So once everything is set up, it all works great. However, I do want to mention that the setup was quite tedious to do because it took us a couple of tries to get everything right. The user guide that we were provided was not super user friendly because there's two different TPCAST software applications to use for the wireless connection. At first we were using the USA version that was found on the USA website, but we did not know that we had to use the European version of the software to get everything right and working as well.
Also, we feel like the cables on the HMD receiver are clumsy and too long over here. It doesn't seem to fit the deluxe audio strap well. Not a big issue, but we do feel like the receiver might damage the deluxe audio strap cushion here after a while. The original HTC VIve strap should not have this problem though. For the best wireless experience, the TPCAST user guide recommends positioning the transmitter close to the VIve lighthouse and pointing it towards the play area as shown in this image. I understand why this is best, but I also think it is an inconvenience that we have to buy another tripod and ball head to position it like this. So we also checked if the TPCAST tracks well if you just place it on the floor or on the table.
She does experience some tracking issues when she turns around from the transmitter, but if she doesn't turn around, it works pretty great. It's not ideal, but it could suffice.
It is also a shame that you cannot adjust the HMD receiver to a different position. It would have been great to not have the receiver on top of your headset all the time, because this also prevents the use of overhead headphones. In case you don't like to use earphones, this could be an issue for you. Now, to let you know how we tested the TPCAST, here is an overview of our setup. This is our play area and it has a size of 2.5 by 1.5 meters. The router is over here on the table. And we have placed the transmitter here. The PC that we tested it on has a GeForce GTX 1070 card, an i7 6700K CPU with 4 GHz, an SSD and 32 GB DDR4 RAM.
Now let's move on to what we think about the wireless VR experience itself. So after playing around with the TPCAST, we have to say that it does deliver what is promised, and that is the feeling of complete freedom while playing VR. There are some issues though, which we will explain in a bit. But let's talk about the wireless VR quality first. So, what is the image like? I have to say that playing with the TPCAST is great. It delivers what is promised, and that is a good wireless experience. I don't see any noticeable reprojection, frame drops or distortion. The signal quality is good and there is no noticeable latency. Super sampling works as well without a problem. So all of that is good and we are very happy with it. As for the comfort and weight, I am not sure if I'm entirely happy with that. The HMD receiver adds a weight of 111 grams. That isn't much, so easily neglectable. The battery and mount adds a weight of 440 grams. And that is heavy in my opinion. It doesn't matter much while playing though, if you have positioned it well. The downside to this is that there is still a cable hanging around, but you don't really notice the cable if you have positioned it well. The biggest advantage is the feeling of freedom and being able to make a lot of turns without having to worry about the cable. So, what about battery life? I could play a full 4 to 5 hours on a full battery without trouble. After that, I have to charge my battery and the charging time does take a long time, about 8 hours for a full charge. Which does mean that you need an extra battery if you want to be able to play all day or are hosting a VR party.
So guys, what I'm going to try right now is hot swapping the battery and see if that works for me. I've seen it happen before, I've seen that it works, but let me try it for myself. Right now I'm seeing image, so what I'm going to do now is take the battery out, put it back in, see what happens now. Alright. So the software assistant has crashed. I don't see any image, it's all gray for me. And no, nothing's happening. I don't hear sound either. Okay, right now I'm hearing sounds, I'm hearing the game music, but I do not have image. So what I have to do now is click on Wait to Restore. And once this is restored, it should reinstate everything again. So the image and the sound, both of them. Okay. I'm hearing a sound that it's connecting right now. Alright, now I have my image back. It works again. So it doesn't take a lot of time, but I can't really take the battery out and then put it back in to have image. I need to press the software assistant to restart it again as well. So If you want to restore or hot swap the battery, you do have to press the restore button on the software assistant to make it work again.
Unfortunately, this product still has some issues, which could play a big factor in whether you want to buy this or not. First of all, as you could see during the installation, you now have to use an external router. An issue with this is that the router that they deliver has a low maximum speed of 50 Mbps down and up. So if you have a higher speed at home, the router is going to limit your speed. You can solve this by buying an Ethernet network card for your computer or a USB to Ethernet adapter so that you can keep on using your own network and router while being able to connect to the TPCAST as well. VIve has made his TPCAST work as a separate network so that it does not limit his internet speed. You can check out what he did in this video. The link is down below. I am not really a fan of this router though. It was initially the idea of TPCAST to replace the router with a dongle attached to the PC in the consumer version. I do not understand why this didn't happen, as I think this router is just an inconvenience. The second issue is the whining sound that starts when you successfully connect the TPCAST. It isn't noticeable when you are in VR and you have your sound on, but without headphones, it sounds like a whine on a high frequency and it can get annoying, especially if you are sensitive to that. If you have a lot of people over watching you play, for example, then this could be very annoying. Chary and I don't like this sound at all either, because we play a lot of games together with the other person watching. So this is a deal breaker for us, but that is personal. If you record videos with your Vive, then luckily you can use a noise filter to filter the whining sound out. Our microphone does not pick up the high frequency as much either, so luckily this isn't much of an issue if you want to record your footage. At the moment there is a bug with the TPCAST where it blocks the built-in HTC VIve microphone and camera from working. Now, I do not use the camera at all, so that isn't the issue, but we often use the built-in microphone for multiplayer games, and I can imagine that this is a big issue to a lot of people. At the moment there is a fix for that by using a third-party fix called OpenTPCAST. This does mean you have to screw open your device, get the SD card out and flash this card to fix the issues. However, I am not a fan of this and I do not understand why TPCAST haven't updated the software yet, even though others have been able to. If you do want to try OpenTPCAST, then please make sure you back up the original SD card so that you can restore everything if needed. Another solution would be to just buy a second SD card and put a fix on there. If you use headphones with your HTC VIve, you have to be aware that you cannot use this anymore. You can try putting the headphones on top of the TPCAST, but it is bulky and not ideal to do it this way. We have tried this for you though, and it seems that the TPCAST still tracks even though there is a headphone on top of it. Now, last but not least, not really a big issue, but still worth a mention. To be able to play VR games now, you have to do some extra steps to get starting. You have to make sure the TPCAST battery is charged. You have to mount yourself using the belt. And lastly, you have to start the TPCAST connection assistant and wait for about a minute for it to start. It doesn't take a lot of time, but still, extra steps you have to take now every VR session.
And now let's move on to the price. The TPCAST itself costs $300 in the US and €250 in the Netherlands. We think that's quite expensive. It is almost the whole price of an Oculus and it's almost half the price of an HTC VIve.
Also, if you want the complete recommended TPCAST setup, you will need these extras too. 1. Tripod or light stand. 2. A ball head. 3. Ethernet network card or USB to Ethernet adapter. 4. Extra battery pack. 5. Extra Ethernet cable for the router. 6. A license to use the virtual here USB server for OpenTPCAST, at least until the microphone is fixed, which will make the total price $408, and we think that is a steep price.
So, what is our final say right now then? Well, if you want wireless VR right now and you don't mind the tedious setup process that requires you to be tech savvy, and if you don't mind spending the money, then you should get it right now, because the wireless experience is great as promised and it's just good.
You will also support VR in a way as an early adapter, making it possible for companies like TPCAST to improve their products and hopefully inspire more companies to create products like this. It is fair to remember here that this technology was considered impossible 2 years ago or so, and now actually is here and adds to the greater experience in VR.
If you're looking for a consumer-friendly product that doesn't feel like a prototype, I would suggest holding out and wait for the new wireless VR solutions that are rumored to be coming out in 2018. So this was interesting for us personally as well, because we were also deciding whether we want to get the TPCAST and go wireless or not. And for now our decision is going back to the old cables.
The biggest reason for this is that we use the HTC VIve built-in microphone a lot, and we are also quite sensitive to the high-pitched noise that is coming from the transmitter. Well, this might not be a big issue to some people, but for us personally it is, because we play in the same room a lot. So this is the deal breaker for us, at least for the current price. However, we might reconsider if TPCAST fixes these issues, the microphone ones especially, in a software update or lowers the price. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, or if you have any questions, please let us know down below. And well, if you want to explore the world of virtual reality with us some more, well, like, comment, and subscribe. And I am Cas.
I'm Chary. We say VR on!